Friday Eve. Okay, we're almost to the weekend. It's the Paul Harrell program. We got to talk about how we cannot let these lefties take over our country. And I know with everything coming up in the midterms, a lot of people are antsy about it. We've just got to focus though, and we got to get over the line. We got to get over the finish line. So I don't think anything can better conceptualize what it is we're facing without looking at the state of California. Nick Shirley, of course, you guys know Nick if you've been alive over the last couple of months, exposing the billions and billions and billions of dollars of fraud, our taxpayer dollars. And of course, what has the state of California decided to do? They want to stop Nick Shirley or any other independent journalist from being able to go document and expose the fraud. They've now passed a bill. It's now on Governor Newsom's desk, and you think it would just stop there, but no, they're so vindictive. They're now confronting Nick Shirley in the street. The chief of staff of the California legislature is now going out there and mocking Nick Shirley's manhood. Literally, that's what he's doing. We've got that story for you. Also, I don't know if anybody out there has heard of Lindsay Clancy. Apparently, I'm late to this party because everybody knows about this tragic case where she admitted to strangling her 3 children. But I am just now this morning figuring out the amount of feminist women who are sympathizing with this child murderer, and so I have to talk about it because I am absolutely. I'm in distress by seeing. I mean, we know feminism is a mind virus. It's part of the woke sex religion mind virus. I just didn't realize how bad it was when, in the face of just what is objectively evil, the strangling of 3 children, a mother doing the deed, and yet feminist women are coming out and trying to blame the man. We've got that story. Also, James Comey. Back in the news, Paul Sperry reporting on James Comey and how the government is trying to convict him for his threats against President Trump, the 8647, that he just happened to find the seashells. Oh, look, I stumbled upon this on the beach. I didn't put it together. I just found it. Huh, isn't that interesting? We'll talk about the government's case against Comey. And again, you guys know my position. I really don't care how you have to go after these deep state oligarchs. If you have to Al Capone them one tax charge at a time, I'm perfectly fine with this. We got a great show. I've got Eric Haynes with us today in seat number 3. We're going to have a great time. Thanks for watching, and the show starts right now.
The Paul Harrell Program.
All right, folks, as always, broadcasting live from the state of Arkansas. We really do appreciate it. Can't do the show without you watching, broadcasting on Live from America TV, the Paul Harrell Program YouTube channel. Also, I know Live from America is also broadcasted on YouTube now as well. Also, shout out to Hometown TV, where we're on cable there on one of the digital channels in North Central Arkansas. So glad to be with you if you're watching. Eric, my friend, how you doing? It's great to have you back.
So great to be here and great to be part of the conversation.
It's always great to have you. I want to remind everybody before we get into it, before we get started, that the Paul Harrell program is powered by the Healing Veterans Project. All you got to do is scan that QR code and you can donate to help veterans get access to life-enhancing and a pain-free life. Honestly, with red light therapy, doctors have prescribed a long list of veterans' red light therapy panels. However, the VA won't cover them. And so we're trying to get these panels in the homes, medical-grade devices in the homes of these veterans. Scan the QR code, and you can donate monthly, annually, quarterly, whatever you want to do. We would love it if you donated $1, $5, whatever you can, because all that adds up. Eventually, we can get these veterans the panels. It's a fiscally sponsored organization, which just means there's a third party kind of like operates as a trustee to make sure that there's no funny business with the money, so you can trust it. And also, if you're a business owner and you want to partner with us, we'd love to integrate at your point of sale with your customers and give your customers the ability to donate $1, $5, $10 to Healing Veterans Project. And we really appreciate them, and we're happy to partner with the Healing Veterans Project. Okay, so let's get into it. This was the headline over at, you know what, Eric? I forgot to switch this out real quick because Rob is indisposed today. He wasn't planning on being indisposed today, but he is. Anyway, here we go. This was the headline from this is the USA Herald. California, AB 2624 reaches Newsom as Stop Nick Shirley Act journalism fight explodes. Okay, so a California privacy bill, that's what they're branding this as. This is about the privacy of those taking taxpayer money. You take taxpayer money, the public doesn't need to know who you are, and we need to keep that private. So they're billing it a privacy, they're calling this a privacy bill. Obviously, we're calling it the Stop Nick Shirley Act. Other people are doing that because that's exactly what this is. This bill would not exist if it wasn't for Nick Shirley doing what any mainstream journalist could have done, should have done over the years, but has chosen not to keep this scam going, to keep the fleecing of taxpayers going. But this honestly is this is what awaits. More of this, more of like just openly saying, okay, we've been caught in the fraud, right? We've been caught in the fraud, and so we are going to now make a law where you can no longer catch us in the fraud, or we're going to make it illegal for you to, as a matter of fact. And that actually brings us to my favorite segment. I think this is my favorite segment of the show, Taxpayer Barbecue. Yeah, so that's essentially what's going on. They're taking our taxpayer dollars, they're laughing at us, they're setting it on fire, and then when we say, hey, we know what you're doing, stop it, they want to use the government to essentially make the exposing of this illegal. The legislature's official history shows that the Senate passed this bill in a 30-10 vote on August 18th. The Assembly concurred in Senate Amendments 5919 the following day, and the bill was presented to Newsom at 1:30 p.m. It's written by Assembly member named Mia Bonta, and would extend California's longstanding safe-at-home address confidentiality system to qualifying immigration support providers, employees, and volunteers. Covered facilities could include nonprofit offices, community legal clinics, law offices, and healthcare facilities providing services to immigrants. Applicants would have to document their connection to a covered facility, provide evidence of recent threats, harassment, or violence, and submit a sworn statement explaining their safety concerns. The controversy, however, centers on provisions governing the online publication of workers' personal information or images. Critics contend the bill could be weaponized against citizen journalists who enter publicly accessible locations, record employees, and investigate organizations receiving taxpayer money. Again, exactly what John Stossel, back in his ABC 2020 days, cut his teeth doing. Nick Shirley, known for his confrontational videos alleging fraud involving government funding. First of all, are they really confrontational videos? You go watch his videos, I don't think he's I wouldn't call it, I mean, he is confronting them, but I wouldn't call it confrontational. Has almost like a hint of violence underneath it. So I don't even say they're confrontational. It's just a guy showing up asking questions like, who are you? It says that you have a bunch of kids here, or, you know, it says that you're supposed to be a hospice house or whatever. But anyway, alleging fraud involving government-funded programs, has argued that the proposal could protect questionable operations from public scrutiny. So that's what we've got going on. As a matter of fact, Eric, I know you have, when this story first broke months ago, I don't know when it broke, but it was a while ago. But the Minnesota, because I mean that's where he was first. I think Nick Shirley's first video was Minnesota, right?
Right. Yeah, that was Leering Center stuff.
Okay. Right.
So, and when that hit, we were all talking about all the specifics of it, and then as a collective, we kind of just said, and I'd mentioned, just wait till this thing hits healthcare.
That's right. That's what you said.
Wait till this thing hits the healthcare exposing. And now here, look where we are now.
So you were exactly right. So he goes to California and he hits on. I'm pretty sure he exposed the hospice. He exposed a lot of this stuff, and it is billions and billions a year.
Adult daycare centers.
Daycare centers.
Yeah, and then right across from it, you've got little like mini banks, mini Western Union places for sending. It's just, I mean, it's all just a gigantic scam.
Huge. And
Dr.
also,
Oz walked the streets with him.
Yep.
Remember during that segment they did, and and they're just looking around like it's in broad daylight. It's not not even really hidden.
Right.
All these buildings are it's just all fraud.
And then you had I mean, I'll just call it counterpart to this. Also, you got to mention Tyler Oliveira, who also then went to Texas and exposed the H-1B thing as well. I mean, which was just like mind blowing. The same thing going on with Somalians is essentially going on with Indians, and they're making parts of Texas Little India, right? So that was a big deal as well.
All these folks need is to scam senior citizens out of their Medicare numbers, and then it's over. They've got them as a billable patient for life. And you just keep stacking more and more Medicare numbers on top of these billing practices, and you just ride a gravy train of fraud. That's what these people have been doing for years. And it's billions and billions and billions and billions of dollars.
So here's Nick Shirley about this. I guess he's on, it looks like he's on Fox News. So here's Nick Shirley on Fox News reacting to what they're trying to do in California.
Very interesting connections. With her husband being the Attorney General of California, their goal as a family should be to prosecute and take care and make sure that there is so little fraud in the state that they can have such a peaceful night of sleep. However, while the Attorney General is supposed to be prosecuting fraud, his wife is creating laws to let fraud continue. They're specifically saying that NGOs who receive money based off immigrant services don't have to disclose their money. And so we know that they use those services to commit fraud. Very interesting connection.
Yeah, so I
with her
didn't know
husband
that.
being
So
Attorney General.
That's what he went up to her and started asking her about. He's like, isn't it weird that your husband's part of the California DOJ, basically,
Right.
and should be prosecuting these, and you've sponsored a bill to eliminate the ability of people like me to be able to expose it because I'm doing his job.
Mm-hmm.
Like, the irony here is just mind-blowing. And you know, her idiotic responses were, isn't it wonderful that the people of California can choose whatever they want? Isn't it great that that was how she started every sentence. Isn't it just wonderful that California can do that? You're just sitting there just, you know, getting angrier by the second because she doesn't care.
Yeah.
She's not doing
Yes, so
anything.
she's essentially covering up the ineptitude for her own husband. I mean, her own husband, like you said, part of California's, you know, enforcement, executive enforcement. Your job is to enforce the law and go after wrongdoers, go after criminals, go after thieves. That's what we're talking about here is theft. And he doesn't want to do it, so let's make it illegal for journalists to expose what you refuse to prosecute. It's sick, man.
We'll see if Newscom's got the balls to sign this bill. It's on his desk. He hasn't signed it yet, but
we will see.
I would love to see if he's actually willing to do that with all of his aspirations. I mean, that'll come back to bite him back.
Yeah. Well,
if he does.
With all of the hubbub about the passage of this California bill, we now have this headline from the New York Post: California Democrat making $200,000 in taxpayer cash crashes Nick Shirley interview and is accusing him. By the way, if you got kids watching, now's the time. I'm sorry, this is part of the news. I'm covering this because it's just part of the news. So viewer discretion advised. If you got kids, this is the time to turn it off. You can check back in later. Nick Shirley interview. This guy crashes him and accuses Nick Shirley of having a quote small penis. And so that brings us to our next segment for today, which is Left Turn at Crazy.
Left turn ahead. Crazy.
Yeah, so the headline says it all. I really don't want to read it again, but you're going to hear a lot about this.
Small manhood.
It's small manhood. Yeah. So the best clip of this is over at Retard Finder over on X. Nick Shirley destroys this loser who approached him with a flyer reading, allegedly, Nick Shirley has a small penis, prove me wrong. And so there's also a lot of built-up animosity towards Charlie Kirk in a confrontation like this as well. Just seething hatred from the left about people who are exposing their schemes. This is what it sounded like.
I can do the same thing, Nick. What did that do for you?
Mia Bonta, do you think her creating a bill that would make it basically illegal, give someone a $4,000 fine for looking into immigration support service providers?
Did you guys hear that Nick Shirley has a small penis, allegedly?
Wow, that's so adult of you.
Did you hear about this? Nick Shirley
you would never
allegedly
see
has
it.
a small penis. Well, I don't know. This is what they're reporting. Have you seen this?
Well, the reports are wrong.
They're reporting. Well, we don't know. Prove me wrong.
No, I'm not. I don't do that.
Prove me wrong. It was good enough for Charlie Kirk. Prove me wrong.
You don't want to do that.
Well,
Nick Shirley says, "Yeah, I don't do that."
if you consent.
I mean, we are in California. They do support pedophiles.
I think you're over 18. So there are news reports happening that Nick Shirley has a small penis. Do you have any comment on Nick Shirley's
Well, I think
allegedly
he's bold. He
small
comes
penis?
out here.
Alleged small penis.
It's risky for him to be out here. He could be banned or criminalized. You know.
Exactly. They're
I
trying
don't
to
think
pass
this
law,
having
man.
a small penis is that a criminal? Are you going to introduce that legislation, Assembly member?
Hey, sir,
To
well,
ban Nick
to look at
Shirley's
your penis,
allegedly
you'd have to
small
lift up your
penis?
fat to even look at it. So
Right,
you should work on that before you allege somebody else
Appreciate
about
your
their own
service.
penis.
Hey, gentlemen, have you guys heard these public reports? Nick Shirley allegedly has a small penis. There's an investigation going on. If you like, there you go. Thank you so much. There's
I'm
anything,
doing just fine. To see yours, you have to literally lift up a flab of fat to look at yours.
I don't know what you're talking about, Nick.
You literally had to go like this to tuck your tummy and look at your
Well,
own
I
penis.
appreciate.
It's a grown man.
I mean,
come out with a
I
piece of
don't
paper
have.
Like this. It's
I'm
kinda
not. There
hilarious,
people aren't
actually.
reporting on me having a small dick. Like I don't have any reports, but
I don't think anyone would ever make a report on you. Period.
I mean,
I
And now, who is this
well,
man that would
sis.
come out and put such a false statement on a paper to put all around Sacramento? Well, his name's actually Terry, and Terry is the Chief of Staff of the California State Assembly. So this
Whoa.
man is the Chief of Staff of the entire Assembly of California, and this is what he's doing.
Yeah, so it's not some rando, crazy purple-haired leftist.
Right.
You know, this is an official. This is a guy who's got bona fides. He's employed by the state of California. He's been given the blessing of the State General Assembly of California, and he is so triggered by Nick Shirley, even though they've got a bill that's essentially going to Johnny sweep the legs any sort of investigative independent journalism in that state regarding fraud. He feels so compelled and triggered, he has to go confront Nick Shirley with this juvenile junior high prank.
Disgusting.
These people are crazy.
Did you? By the way, did you hear his initial comment there when he said it's good enough for Charlie Kirk?
Yeah, I did.
Did you hear that? Mm-hmm. The prove me wrong thing. Well,
Right.
it was good enough for Charlie Kirk.
Mm-hmm.
Oh my goodness.
Yeah. So, I mean,
Oh man.
you know, there you have
This
it.
guy looks down and hadn't seen his manhood in many,
Yeah,
many
I mean,
years.
this-
and
this-
here he is accosting.
Yeah, I mean, you've triggered a gay man. I mean, I'm just assuming that obviously this guy's gay.
Feminine.
I mean, it's apparent to me that this guy's gay. Okay, and does anybody look? We're about to have. Honestly, this is going to be great. So we're about to launch
He
our.
rides that horse.
We're about to
Nice
launch our new website in the coming weeks, right? So we've got a website coming, and we're also going to have daily polls out on the website for you guys to go click, and that would be that would be a great poll. Do you think California State Assembly Chief of Staff is gay based on the evidence in this video? Yes or no? Maybe. See results.
Doing with his time.
oh yeah, you can get a photo.
All right, so
See,
here's
people love me.
he's a
People don't know who
celebrity.
you are.
Okay, so here's a celeb. You know, he's kind of a celebrity, and she's like, "Hey, I want to get a photo with Nick Shirley." Well, this is triggering to Mr. Mr. Big California State Assembly Chief of Staff.
You want a flyer?
Do you want to take the photo?
No, I'm gonna.
This is a beautiful lady right here, sir.
Thank you.
See, we're not being hostile.
Okay.
You don't get to touch my things.
Who has it now?
Steal my things. That actually is a crime. Nick.
on.
Thank you. You can't steal
Come
my
on.
stuff.
Making it
now
work
I'm
out so
convinced
people can
when
actually
you
see
said
your
now that
penis.
is a crime.
Now that it's
I
a
know, 'cause
crime,
all
the
the-
guy is literally doing an impersonation of Big Gay Al from South Park.
Yeah.
You guys remember Big Gay Al?
Hi there, little fella.
Yeah.
How are you today?
I'm super.
Super. Thanks for asking.
That's who this is. Big Gay Al left
from
the
South
state
Park.
of Colorado and went and became the California State Assembly Chief of Staff.
The blood's flowing into your arms. It's not flowing into your incredibly, allegedly small penis.
Oh god.
Nick, you don't get to touch that. It's not yours.
Hey, she wants a
I can do the
photo.
same thing, Nick.
Oh
What did that do for you?
Can't get it though.
Come on, Nick. Sergeant, I need my
Here, let's get a photo. You want your photo? Look at all of the papers this guy made. He's gonna put these all around Sacramento. Look at this. Look at this.
Is it part of having an allegedly small penis that you feel the need to steal?
No, you just put it in my face, so I grabbed it. Look, you want to it back?
But no one's putting a
You want it
small
back?
penis. I do want it back, please.
I know he is breathing cardio. This is California politics. This is hilarious. See, people love me. No way he gets in a Tesla. No way. No way you get in a Tesla. He probably doesn't like Elon Musk. Look at him. Absolute clown. He likes fraudsters.
All right, now
it's a clown show.
somebody astutely pointed out that he does get into Tesla. So this guy is essentially a walking contradiction.
Yeah, right.
But somebody points out that if you see there on the screen, he's got an Elon sticker. Somebody zoomed in, so he's got an Elon with a line through it sticker. So this is his way of trying to remain intellectually consistent. He's like, I have a Tesla because I like the technology, but I don't like their CEO.
So it's part of his deception.
And so I want to be considered, I want to be considered hip with the cause. And I am not a traitor. I'm not. I'm not a. I'm not a Republican.
Wow.
So I'm going to have a Tesla, and I'm going to put the Elon sticker with the line through it, the ban Elon sticker next to it, which is it's still just a cope. It's still a massive cope. And in his and I will say this, in his defense, the status of Elon Musk being cool or not cool to the left or to the right has changed pretty quickly, like over the last 10 years.
Yeah.
I remember my friend Jacob Holloway, who has a Tesla, and he's he worked for Trump's campaign in Nevada in like 2016, and but he has a Tesla, and he said he would get in the Tesla drive, and he'd be in the deep south somewhere. I think he's based out of Georgia, and he'd get some truck that would pull in front of him, and then gas it, like with a big diesel and create the big plume of smoke, because Elon Musk was considered, you're some environmental whack job, that wants to take away our gas guzzling, that sort of thing. That's who Elon kind of was to the right at one time. But then Elon became very acceptable and based to the right and actually was the right's billionaire. That Republicans ran him out of D.C. within 5 months because his ideas were actually doing what Nick Shirley was doing, exposing the fraud, and he actually wanted to do something about it. But anyway, that's another story. But now, if you're a leftist and you own, then they went to firebombing Tesla dealerships. It's really kind of funny to where it's like, because I told my friend Jacob, I said, dude, man, like, you got to be careful now. You're at charging stations. There's like violent leftists going around there. Like you used to have to potentially watch out for the right, although the right wouldn't be violent. The right would just like make fun of you.
Right.
But now the left hates Tesla. I think that's so funny how fickle we can be. Anyway.
Certainly the left. Yeah.
Yeah, just a general society. Yeah.
Yeah.
Definitely. So anyway, that's it right there. That is called Left Turn It Crazy.
Left Turn It Crazy.
For real.
Sure.
Like, that is a perfect example of what we're dealing with, and we can't let... I don't want to live under this. No. I don't want to live under this nonsense. And I know none of you do either, but we have an issue. We'll talk about this later because I think we'll talk about the midterms if we have time towards the end of the show, because the numbers out of Alaska, kind of concerning. Some people, now turnout is low, so that's what this is. The midterms are all about turnout and all about motivating. And here's the deal. President Trump, I know he's going to do his thing to try to get people to come out, but...
Got a midterm convention coming up.
Yeah, that's true. But when you've got John Thune as the leader saying, we just got to make the fact that we can't pass the SAVE Act, we got to put that on the Democrats and make that a campaign issue and blah, blah, blah. I'm like, man, that's not going to work.
No.
As much as I would like to do that, I just don't think that's the winning strategy. The issue is these Republicans are wanting us to allow them to maintain power, and they're not passing Trump's agenda. They're not codifying Trump's agenda. And so if they do get back in power, I mean, there are some that say, look, we may lose the House and we may lose the Senate. I mean, if they lose both chambers, President Trump's agenda is effectively dead at that point in terms of codifying it for the next administration, codifying it for the next generation, making it very difficult to undo. Right now, Democrat gets in there and they can just undo everything. So I don't want to live under these people. I don't want to live under their ideas. That's why these states, after the Supreme Court ruling on redistricting, saying, the South no longer has to run their political systems and districts with one arm tied behind their back, while the Northeast, that have several 60-40 states, are all blue. The South can now do it. The reason the South called special sessions and decided to redistrict, and there's still going to be more that'll do it in the next cycle. The reason we decided to do that is because people are desperately trying to use political power that they have legally to make sure we don't have to live under these crazy people anymore. And they're trying to do it as a last gasp within the confines of the system we have during this cold civil war, because we don't want it to go hot. But if the left gets back in power, I'm just telling you, what they're gonna do to Christians, you can't even imagine at this point what's going to happen. Because this is all I told this to Rob yesterday, and I really do believe this. Underneath all of this, some of them won't say it out loud. Some of them will say it out loud. But I think underneath all of the left's angst and frustration with us, it really boils down to the fact that we're Christians.
Religions?
I really do believe that. They may not articulate it, but I think ultimately it comes down to the Christians.
Yeah,
in their
what
minds.
they've articulated well has nothing to do with necessarily an affront or an assault on Christianity, but an assault on capitalism and
yes.
We're going to fix the affordability problem, because we know that you guys are coming out of your universities with no jobs, and your rent's too high, and you want a lot of things for free. That's at least what they're saying. But are you saying underneath all that is really just an attempt and an affront to Christianity? And
they blame all of our
religious
voting habits on Christianity. If you believe in Jesus and vote, they're saying, okay, well, that's why you're voting for Republicans. And then, of course, they always love to play, well, you're a hypocrite because you're voting for politicians that aren't perfect. That's essentially their argument. You're voting for politicians that have made moral mistakes. And it's like, okay, you totally misunderstand. I think ultimately, though, it is the morality of God that you can read about, the character of God that you can read about in the Bible that informs our opinions and our beliefs of what we should do, to be obedient, to love the Lord our God with all our heart. I think ultimately they just blanketly say, and many of them don't believe us.
Because you definitely see radical Muslims going after and making that a part of it, because we are the infidels.
Right.
Literally.
Yes.
So I totally see your point there. That is absolutely happening.
At the height of this wasn't the height. I don't
us
at
and
all.
the Jews.
So at the beginning of the big push where the LGBTQ alphabet soup people, RSTLNE, would you like to buy a vowel enclave, when they were really taking off, this would have been in 2015. At least they were taking off in Arkansas in about 2015. And there were people in Arkansas that decided to pass a bill called the Religious Freedom Restoration Act. It was the same bill that mirrored what Bill Clinton and Al Gore signed in 1993.
Right.
All right, we were just trying to put that. And this was in the wake of the cakes and the flower shops and that sort of thing. So I was at the Capitol and I was covering this, and there was these big protests. So the Rainbow people showed up at Little Rock at the Capitol, and they had this big protest. So I was doing man on the street. And kind of like what Nick Shirley was doing there, and I was just asking these people, like, but what about, what about their right, their religious convictions? They're not trying to tell you not to be gay, but they're just trying to say, I just can't do this. I don't want to bake the cake for a wedding that I believe weddings are a religious ceremony, and I just can't do it. And they basically said, well, you should have thought about that before you decided to have a business in America. So from their standpoint, it is, if you want to have a business license, you have to agree with our religion, with our worldview. You have to be willing to do that. So then I naturally went to the abortion. What about a doctor? Should doctors be forced? Yes, if you want to be a doctor, you have to perform abortions when it's required of you, or you can't be a doctor. And I'm like, okay, these people are crazy. But as I pushed in more, the idea of a sincere religious conviction to these people was, they thought I was lying. They thought the right was lying. They thought we were making it up just to be prejudiced against them. That's that's the main thing I took away there, and I thought, wow, that was kind of the first time I thought, wow, both sides believe they have the moral high ground, and when both sides believe they are morally superior to the other, and we're talking about these issues, this is going to end with winners and losers. This is going to end with one side or the other, their ideas being, totally discredited and rejected and banned, outright banned. Now, what all has to happen in order for that to happen, I don't exactly know anymore. But that's what I came away with after that was, oh my gosh, they don't even believe us. They are so dark, they're so twisted, they're so in the snare of the devil.
Wow.
That many of them do not believe that we are honestly believe in God, and that it's they just think it's a weapon that we use to hurt them. So, and that was in 2015, and it has only gotten worse since then. Yeah. In terms of their resolve. Now, we've rejected it in 2024, but it's pretty crazy. Okay, so let's sound off in the comments. Tell me what you guys think about that. I'd love to hear you get your responses on that. All right, so James Comey, speaking of crazy, 8647. He just found the seashells. Okay, so we've got an update. Paul Sperry has a flurry of posts over on X about this. And it's fascinating because, you haven't really heard a lot about this. It's kind of gone away. He was indicted for his seashell thing. Obviously, we had reports. I think the last I heard was maybe we're saying that maybe the DOJ is going to say that you use this to sell books. You used a threat against the president to make money, right? That appears to be at least part of the government's argument based on this flurry of tweets by Paul Sperry. All right, so new text messages obtained by federal investigators reveal embattled former FBI Director James Comey and his book agent bragged about his 8647 threat against President Trump going viral on social media. Quote, "I'll be okay if it sells book,"
Good grief.
Comey told his agent. Comey's agents are Keith Urban and Matt Latimer, who also repped the anti-Trump anonymous author and ousted former Trump White House aide Victoria Coates. Okay, so that's obviously a little tidbit of information, kind of establishing birds of a feather flock together, right? So he's okay as long as he sells books. What's your reaction to that first post?
Sounds like Fauci. It sounds like we really know what's important to you.
Yeah.
I mean, we know what's important. What was important to Fauci?
Yeah, money,
and fame,
power.
Yeah, we know what's important to Comey, selling books,
Ego.
Yes.
Well,
this is all. They're just narcissists.
Yeah,
they're absolute flagrant and disgusting narcissists.
Also keep in mind underneath, and again, I don't care how you go after somebody like James Comey. Obviously, I would much rather it be treason, like charge the guy with treason. But whatever you got to do, Al Capone him or whatever, and this may not work out. Let's just be real. They may not get a conviction out of this at all. But I will say, and I don't think the government is coming at it from this angle, but I think practically speaking, what is abundantly clear to me when the former head of the FBI, who is arguably the nation's top spy, okay, we've talked about this, is posting 8647 to the world, where we know, based on Clapper and Brennan or whoever, talking about how there are still lifers, and I'll just say communists, that are embedded in the FBI that are waiting this administration out. They're hiding. They're doing everything they can to not get fired. But we also know that those people have acted maliciously in the past. We know that false flags are real. We know that assassination attempts are real. We know that subverting this administration at all costs, and doing it quietly is real. So it's very much like James Comey is a military general who has been exiled. So that's how I look at it, and I think it would be helpful for all of us to look at it that way. The FBI Director James Comey is in the 21st century. Your generals of armies are your intelligence oligarchy spooks. Okay, so he is an exiled general. He is, quote, out of power, and yet he has friendlies still in the government, in power, that are more loyal to James Comey than they are to the Constitution and certainly the Commander-in-Chief, President Trump. So, practically speaking, when an exiled general tells the world, including his minions that are waiting for him to come back to power, waiting for his side to come back to power, to kill the President of the United States, to me, that is a secret, or it is a public, but also, potential comms or communications to potentially actually assassinate the president, who has been, assassinated, or there's been attempts, 2 of that we know of, right? Two times that at least we know of. So, to me, practically, that's why I think, he did not just find the seashells, okay? I'll never believe that, ever.
No. But unless you had someone that came forward with a video of him walking up with the rocks, and wouldn't that have been great?
That'd been awesome. I wonder if they have
see him organizing them in that 8-7.
Pull up the satellite data.
Yeah.
I wonder if anybody's done that in the government. This may not be admissible in court, but
yeah.
Hey, you want to see James Comey play with seashells?
Yeah.
Seashells by the seashore. You want to see it? Because we've got the footage. That'd be awesome. Here's another Paul Sperry post. The passages that federal prosecutors cite from James Comey's 2025 novel FDR Drive are compelling in establishing mens rea, which is called guilty mind, because they depict conduct that is similar to a not-so-subtle call for violence against President Trump alleged in the Comey case. Well, I'm going to be honest. That doesn't give me a lot of confidence for conviction. Okay? All right? That doesn't give me a lot of confidence for conviction. I think there's probably more, but I'm measuring my expectations here. I think we all should. But, surely they've got more than, hey, we think in this one book in 2025, we can establish that you had a guilty mind because of the way you depicted, the way you wrote. I don't know. We'll see. Here's another post by Sperry. James Comey and his D.C. lawyer David Kelly refused to provide federal investigators the original photo Comey took of his 86-47 seashell threat on Trump, target of 2 prior assassination tries, because it held key metadata. So the FBI had to serve Apple with a warrant to search his iCloud new court docs reveal. So they refused to give them the original photo. Now sound off in the comments. Eric will watch for the post or whatever. What metadata is valuable in that context? I really would love to know what metadata Comey would not want the government to have, or at least have to go through Apple to get it. Maybe he's just being uncooperative, but I'm just curious. Is there something else in the metadata that would? Maybe the photo was a live photo, so you get a little bit more, because the live photos show you 1 or 2 seconds of video.
Yeah, you get 2 to 3 seconds.
So maybe they actually have some video evidence.
Oh wow,
which would be hilarious if his wife was the one that took the photo for him. And he's 1 to 2 seconds placing the shells and then getting out of the frame.
Fix the 7. Got it, honey.
That'd be hilarious. I was just walking down the beach on the seashore, and I saw these seashells.
Oh, weird.
Look at this. Isn't this an odd formation? Here's another one. Prosecutors will argue at trial that a book by James Comey shows he had a state of mind. This is the previous tweet, basically, had a state of mind to kill President Trump through stochastic terrorism, in Comey's own words, by posting an image, 8647, to his 200,000 Instagram followers. Comey's novel describes a podcaster who, through the wonder of the internet, convinces his fans of killing his foes. So that's what they're going with. It's where a charismatic leader jacks people up, but through the wonder of the internet avoids a direct connection to what comes next, Comey wrote in FDR Drive, which came out just 5 days after Comey posted his seashell threat in May 2025, less than a year after 2 attempts on Trump's life, including one in which he was shot in the ear. Quote, he knows an attack will follow his words, but he closes his eyes so he can say he wasn't part of it, Comey wrote, providing more evidence of intent. Now, that is kind of creepy, though. Like, that is kind of weird. People are susceptible to social media messages that offer a sense of purpose through violence, Comey also wrote, and because those messages are in your pocket reaching you constantly through your buzzing phone, it's an order of magnitude more effective and more dangerous. You know, I'm not surprised that this guy did this, and he wrote about it. He wrote about what he did, because this guy, I've looked at several interviews of Comey. I've studied his rise to the top when he was apparently a Boy Scout, in the whole John Ashcroft on his deathbed. I don't know if you guys remember this, but John Ashcroft was on his deathbed, allegedly, and the Bush administration and Alberto Gonzales, who was not Attorney General yet, Comey was a deputy attorney general, and he had this whole long-out spiel about the Patriot Act and how George Bush was trying to get John Ashcroft to sign off on the Patriot Act because it was about to expire, and they wanted Comey to do it, and they were pressuring him on his deathbed, and it was this huge thing, and, James Comey was this amazing guy who was for, your privacy rights, and that was all nonsense, right? He was only doing that because he was, friends with Chuck Schumer, and they were trying to make, they were trying to attack George Bush. I'm not saying George Bush wasn't worthy of attacking. I'm just telling you that's what was really going on there. In the wake of all of the Russiagate framing Trump for treason stuff, I've seen these interviews where, he's caught dead to rights. Even George Snuffleupagus of ABC News, even George Snuffleupagus of ABC News is sitting in this interview with Comey, and we now know that Comey briefed Trump on intelligence about the Russians and having dirt on him, and we now know that James Comey knew that it originated from Trump's chief political opponent, Hillary Clinton.
Yeah.
Snuffleupagus asks Comey, don't you think Donald Trump had the right to know the intelligence that you were briefing him on came from Hillary Clinton? Even Snuffleupagus asked the question. And James Comey, with straight face, just says, no, I don't think he did. And then proceeds to give some answer that is psychotic. It's a level of lying that is like, it makes George Costanza, look like a saint. Like, the level of lying, I don't think, here's the deal, I don't think he believes his own lies. I won't give him the benefit of the doubt there. I will not give James Comey that credit. I think James Comey is a psychopath, not a sociopath. He's a psychopath. I really believe that about this guy. Just after looking at this body of evidence, certainly a sociopath, right? Certainly that. But does it go from sociopath to psychopath? I don't know. When you're talking about, look, I think, in any profession, there's percentage of that profession that can tend to be crazy, right? And there's higher percentages depending on the profession. But we're talking about government. We're talking about the intel agencies. You don't think these guys get off on the power they have of being able to decide who lives, who dies, who gets spied on, whose secrets get used?
Oh, yeah.
Think about Herbert Hoover, man. Think about his proclivities, sexual proclivities, but then all the blackmail he had on everybody else. Can you imagine if Herbert Hoover had the technology that James Comey did?
Herbert Hoover or J. Edgar Hoover?
Sorry, Edgar Hoover. Yeah. Sorry, not Herbert Hoover. Sorry,
Herbert Hoover once
Hoover
stayed
was
on this
the
floor. The vacuum guy? No,
Yeah.
the president.
yeah. Hoover was the.
Sorry, I didn't.
Hoover was
the
Hoover was the president that was got blamed for the Great Depression. Right?
I was going to say the Great Depression.
Yeah, he said chicken in every pot, and then the Depression hit. So there were no chickens. Chickens were gone. They were gone.
Heard of Black Monday?
Yeah, J. Edgar Hoover. Can you imagine if J. Edgar Hoover had what James Comey have? And that's the thing. Like, these people that aspire, and that's the thing, they aspire to get this type of power.
Yeah,
and they revel in being able to use it against other people.
And then when it starts slipping away, then they start grasping at straws and start, really, really showing their true colors. which were always there before, but they had the power. And then when they start to lose that power, that's when they get desperate.
Yeah.
And that's when they do stupid, stupid stuff, like make seashell numbers into the sand. Like, that is just so juvenile.
Mm-hmm.
Like, but look what it got him.
Yep.
It got him exactly what he wanted. He made a whole circuit through all the Sunday shows and all the mainstream media shows because of that.
And
because of a stupid stunt
Yeah.
with seashells by the seashore.
I think ultimately, yeah.
Like, come on.
That's got to be his least favorite poem
Is
at this
that on
point.
us for even giving him the attention that he wanted? Is it? I mean, is it?
No, because I think James Comey wants President Trump dead.
Oh.
I really believe that.
Well.
And I think a lot of other people do too. They see through this nonsense. I mean, they all talk about what makes this country great is the peaceful transfer of power. No,
Right.
that we didn't have a peaceful transfer of power. We didn't.
right.
We had literally, Obama got on that chopper and they were all sharpening their knives, figuring out. Obama ordered the fake intel assessment we now know, thanks to Tulsi Gabbard and Congressman Rick Crawford. We know this. He literally ordered a fake intel assessment to set up this whole thing that destroyed his first presidency. And it did destroy it. Because it gave squishy Republicans like Paul Ryan, well, this guy may be in there because of Russia. I don't really think I'm going to build that wall. I'm not giving you the money you want. I mean, remember Paul Ryan? Remember that? It was all. Remember all the Republicans that bought into the Russia collusion hoax?
Sure.
And the same, even though now it's proven false, it's the same thing with J6. There's still Republicans that buy into the J6 narrative, don't want to admit the federal involvement there, the false flag operation that it was. Mm-hmm. And again, we have two pipe bomber stories. Anyway, another Paul Sperry. A new court exhibit reveals a relative of James Comey sent a blistering text to wife Patrice Comey. Now, this is interesting. This kind of shows you that there are people in their life that have been watching their BS and are like, you guys are crazy and you disgust us. Listen to this. A text was sent to Patrice Comey lambasting them for posting a call for violence against President Trump, asserting, quote, I have held my tongue for a long time, but I just can't do it anymore. You guys have really gone off the deep end over the years with your Trump derangement syndrome. 8647 is a call for violence no matter how you spin it. You should be ashamed of yourselves. I am thoroughly embarrassed to have ever defended the absolute coward that is your husband.
Wow.
You and Jim are some of the least accepting, most hypocritical people I've had the displeasure of knowing. I hope Jim goes to jail for his crimes.
God bless Aunt Betty.
Yeah.
Or Cousin Betty.
I have a late Aunt Betty. That's funny.
Or whoever else that sent that. Golly,
That's great.
man.
That's great.
She needs to be at the next Republican National Convention.
Yeah. Man, appoint her senator for South Carolina, whoever this lady is.
Good grief.
That's
that
great.
was awesome.
Oh, man, that's fantastic. I hope he goes to jail for his crimes. That's great. Here's another one as we wind down. This is the last of the Paul Sperry tweets. Federal prosecutors argue there is...
those last... I'm sorry, I keep going back. Those last two sentences, it's just... I mean, that's a relative.
Yeah.
Like...
We're assuming it's a woman. I mean, it kind of reads like a woman, or maybe it was a dude. I don't know.
Man, love it.
Yeah.
Love it.
You and Jim are the least accepting. That's interesting because
see y'all at Thanksgiving.
Yeah. That is funny, the least accepting. You guys are the least accepting, most hypocritical people I've had the displeasure of knowing. That's funny because, he's on the left. There's photos of Jim Comey wearing like rainbow shirts. He's down with the woke sex religion. He's down with the cause. That's great. All right, last one is this one. Here we go. Federal prosecutors argue there is reason to doubt, Paul Sperry writes, ex-FBI Chief James Comey's story that he stumbled upon 8647 seashell formation while walking with his wife on a North Carolina beach. In new court papers, they reveal the shells were located behind a sand dune in a spot beachcombers could not easily discover them. Quote, and there is no evidence that anyone else arranged, photographed, or even saw the shells, end quote. So they have reason to doubt that he just stumbled upon them. So from this, it sounds like that there was a space that was kind of off the beach that somebody used as kind of a exhibit. Like, this is a great place to build an exhibit that nobody's just going to stumble upon. So I don't know. But I mean, you guys don't believe it. I don't believe it. Nobody believed it at the time. Nobody believed it at the time that this guy was just like, would you look at that? 8647. Well, isn't that interesting? You know, go listen to what Comey says on Stephen Colbert's show. I just thought to myself, wow, that's certainly interesting, you know. And then my wife said, 86, honey. I mean, you know, back in the restaurant days, that's what they said when they wanted to cancel an order. You know, 86 the ketchup, you know. And I thought, oh, well, that's interesting. That's an interesting thing. And, you know, 47. Well, yeah, that's interesting. I had no way of knowing that meant kill. Well, yeah, the director of the FBI who is responsible for people being killed in one way, shape, or form, right? Like indirectly, maybe directly, but certainly indirectly. You're the head of the FBI, right? Like, you decide in some way, shape, or fashion whether people live or die as the person in the FBI. The head, arguably the most powerful spook that there is, and you don't know what 86 means. Yeah. You don't know what 86 means. Like, you've never heard the term, hey, we need to 86 this operation fast because they're on to us and they're going to tie us back to the false flag that's about to go down that then we're going to cover up. You've never heard that? You've never heard 86? FBI seems to exist in a lot of ways to create crimes and then cover them up, never solve them. Anyway, okay, so
how are we still talking about Comey?
I know. I'm sorry.
No, it's not you. It
should have been in jail a long time ago.
Yeah, right. That's what I'm saying. Like, we should have ostracized him from society. He should be exiled with Napoleon on a mountain.
He should be
somewhere.
gone. Should be gone. All right, real quick. Kind of the title of the show. We don't want to live we don't want to let the Democrats rule us, destroy our country. Senator Elisa Slotkin. Okay. Elisa Slotkin, this is the Democrat plans for the Supreme Court. Listen to this.
I want to clean up the court so that we can get back to them being like actual jurists on behalf of the Constitution and Americans. So two things. Number one, they're combined. You either get 18 years on the Supreme Court or you hit 75 years old and you're out. Period. So that, and by the way, if we did that, there'd be two right now who would be, right? I want to clean up the court.
All right. First of all, you know, you just love and politicians on both sides say this. We want to clean up the court, and we want to make them jurists again. You know, as if that level of neutrality is even possible. It's not possible, and it's so ridiculous. Where we're to believe that there are ways, especially in this day and age, where people can just put politics aside and do the right thing, when in reality, doing the right thing is also going to be perceived as political, and it is political. Everything that your government does is political. Obama used to get away with this all the time, you know, like, we got to just come together, we got to pass the budget, and we got to do the things the government needs to do. You know, and they would say that this is just what we got to do as a government, as somehow this is like nonpartisan, and in reality, it was always partisan. It always is partisan. Your judges are partisan. Your courts are partisan. Your legislators are partisan. Your dog catcher is partisan. There's always going to be some ideology that is not neutral, because neutrality is a myth. Cultural neutrality is a myth. You're either a pagan nation or you're a Christian nation. It's either one or the other. It's not a question of, we talked about this yesterday, it's not a question of whether or not a country has blasphemy laws or, you know, shameful things that, you know, you get shame heaped upon you if you do them. It's what kind of standards do you have? Okay, I mean, back in you know, 2020, you know, over the last 10 years, the blasphemy laws was, even if you are a leftist, like, yeah, I do think that, like, this should be reserved for women's spaces. Blasphemy! You're out of the movement. Cancel you. Fire you.
Yeah.
That is their religion, right? And so it's not a question of whether to have one. It's which one you have. And this is the same thing with these jurists. Like, we just got to clean up the court.
Yeah.
We got to find a way to let them actually judge what the Constitution says again. Sorry, you're either going to read what the Constitution says or you're going to make up what you want it to say. Those are political positions. I think one of them is correct and right and honest and good, and I think the other one is evil, wrong, and wicked.
Totally.
You know, I mean, you think about the 14th Amendment. Go ahead.
Well, and you said it right. They just make it up. Whatever fits their narrative, they just make it up. You didn't see her saying this when Ruth Bader Ginsburg was alive. She was one of the main representatives from Michigan that was praising Ruth Bader Ginsburg and all her glorious years on the Supreme Court, fighting for people's rights. Like, she wouldn't have said this when Ruth Bader Ginsburg was alive, but she says it now because she sees a chance to encourage knocking two conservative-leaning Supreme Court justices off the court. So
that'd be Alito and Thomas.
Yeah, you say that what fits your agenda and your narrative, and this is the Democrat narrative.
Yep.
Either, get some of the older Republicans off and stack the Supreme Court with who we want the next time we get in power.
Yep.
That's what they want.
Now, fundamentally, I'd like to ask you a question on this, though, Eric. What are your thoughts about term limits for legislators or for, she was talking about basically 18-year terms for Supreme Court justices? I mean,
well,
I would say at this point, I'm not for any changes because I don't want to work with the left at all, and I want to make the modern iteration of the left illegal, and I want to go after the people that are funding stuff that I think they're doing things that are illegal. They're just not being prosecuted for it. But at a 30,000-foot view, the principle of it, what would you think about term limits?
We did the analysis. It has been a couple of months ago when we looked at when we laid out the ages of all of the senators and representatives, and we placed them on a list of, and it kind of blew our minds a little bit to see the elderly nature of so many of them and just how old they are. And not only that, but how long they've been there. They haven't done anything else. You look at guys like Bernie Sanders, never had a job in his life other than doing what he's doing right now. And it's just, I'm 100% for term limits because you see what it does to people like Mitch McConnell and Nancy Pelosi and Chuck Schumer and I forget the lady from California that they literally wheeled her in a wheelchair.
Dianne Feinstein.
Yeah. Your heart goes out to those situations because they're not even very functional. I mean, this country elected a president that was barely functional. Maybe not in the right. I wouldn't necessarily say he got 80 million votes.
Right.
But
I was about to say elected.
I mean, it's crazy what goes on and how long these folks stay in power and the power that they get and not being able to let it go.
Yeah. Interestingly enough, in the Oval Office,
they're not helpful. They don't do anything.
Yeah. Interestingly enough, in the Oval Office, because Mitch McConnell, speaking of the elderly, Mitch McConnell is missing in action.
Yeah.
We still don't know really where he is. A lot of people don't trust these photos that are coming out, and all this was done to apparently, if there is a conspiracy here, the motive would be we don't want to have a special election because this is Mitch McConnell's last term. But President Trump gets a question from the Oval Office about term limits.
It's been about 69 days since we've seen Mitch McConnell. Sometimes when you look at Congress, it looks like the cast of Cocoon. Yeah. But I read a Cindy Adams column in the New York Post recently, and she talked about how we need term limits and someone needs to hold Congress accountable. Maybe you should be the person to do it. Would you support term limits for Congress or some type of cognitive testing? Because maybe if we had that the last 4 years, we wouldn't have ended up in some of these messes.
So term limits are very popular with the public. I've seen it both ways. I've seen where people go in and they get termed out and they're very talented and they're at the height of their career, politicians, and you end up with total rookies in there, nothing gets done. And I've seen it the other way where people are there too long. We see that all the time. I see both. I always like to say that a term limit is an election. You know, the public's pretty smart. You see that last night. We had some great success last night. The Republican Party had tremendous success last night. But I like to say that term limits should be elections, but I'm okay with term limits. Remember, the people that have to pass term limits are the people that are going to be voting on them to get out of office. So it's a little bit tough. That's not the easiest vote to get, is it, huh? But I'm okay with it.
For them to limit their own power. So President Trump says he's okay with it. Interestingly enough, President Trump, I think one of President Trump's most historic positions this second term has been to end the filibuster. That is a big deal, that the president has said the Senate must end the written, paperwork version of the filibuster where you don't actually have to stand up and talk. That alone would be your term limits at this point. That alone would correct the problem, because these geriatric senators would not have the stamina to do their jobs. And that's what, and so we are being robbed of our own government. We're being robbed of our own government the way it's written down on paper. We should have right now a bunch of, let's just say Gen Xers. You know, it's interesting that the boomers have held on to power so long that we have a millennial vice president. Not a Generation X vice president, a millennial vice president. The millennials have essentially been, Generation X has simply been leapfrogged over because the old guys will not go home and spend the rest of their good years with the grandkids, marveling over the fortune they made via insider trading. They just refuse to do it. Like, you've even, insider trading is essentially legal in Congress, and it's going to be forever. It doesn't matter what law they pass, because they can always give, nephew Jimmy at Thanksgiving will get the tip, will get the stock tip. It's always going to happen. The only way to end insider trading is to actually have Christians with a strong moral compass in government who don't want to do something underhanded to get their money. Like, that's your only chance to end insider trading, just so you know. And it's not just being a Christian, but also being a Christian and having the convictions of, I'm not going to get my money by grift and graft, right? I'm not going to do it. But all that being said is these guys won't go home. Mitch McConnell 5-10 years ago refused to go home and spend the rest of his career, the rest of his life, reflecting on the life he's had. I don't know if he has grandkids. I don't know, but whatever. He refused to do it, and all the rest of these guys do as well. If you got rid of the filibuster the way it is now, and in order to filibuster, you had to actually stand up there for 24 hours, 48 hours, and we had robust men, full of testosterone, up and down and run, and actually debating, excuse me, you would actually have your government back, and many of these guys would go home. I really believe that. Right now, does anybody think that, let's just take, and I don't dislike Chuck Grassley entirely. I mean, I do think he stalled some of the president's nominees, but take Chuck Grassley. You think he could do it? You think he could go in a 48-hour filibuster, or be there, and meet the rules? No, I don't think so. I think I'd put him in the hospital. Gosh,
48. No.
Yeah. I mean, I'm 42, and it would drain me to do it. So the job is meant for, people in their 40s and 50s and 60s, we'll say 60s, to be able to debate and carry out the people's business. And the reason they don't like it is because when you put people through, the lobbyists have successfully found a way to mitigate any potential mental exhaustion that would cause somebody to offer an amendment, offer a solution that nobody sees coming in the legislative process. And it's like, okay, we're going to do this to end it. Okay, yes, agree, boom, it's done. And now the people, like, they've literally taken the ability away to negotiate in front of the public. That's another thing the filibuster would be used for, the actual filibuster where you have to stand up there and not just this paperwork one. It's disgusting. All right, we got to go to break. But before we do, you heard what President Trump said about term limits. I would just want you to know that way back in 2016, when President Trump was running in the primaries. He came to Hot Springs, Arkansas, and I was in attendance. And I asked President Trump about term limits. And I went and I pulled the audio. We don't have video. We only have the audio version of this. But here's my question 10 years ago to President Trump about term limits. Take a listen. Well, I thought that...
Other questions? Any questions? Yes?
Hi, this is Paul Harrell. I was wondering what you thought about term limits here in Arkansas. Politicians can now stay in office longer than this time last year. Some people think the language on the ballot was even deceptive. What do you think of term limits nationally?
First of all, so one thing, you get a standing ovation and then you take questions, which I totally disagree, but that's okay. He wanted to take over. It's like Elton John. He does this great, great song, it's over, and they call him back for an encore, and the last song isn't as good. It's always good. We had a nice, beautiful standing ovation, now we're doing question, and he wants to know about term limits, okay? Not the most exciting subject, but that's okay. I've seen it both ways. Term limits are interesting. I've seen some amazing, good politicians get thrown out of office before they should. And I've likewise seen some real amateurs come in because of the fact that that's happened. At the same time, I've seen some people that should not be in office and they're there too long. So you can live with either way, and I know what you're going to do here. You've got a little bit of a complicated thing. A lot of people consider a term limit an election, right? You have an election, you're no good, you have an election, you get voted out. But I can live either way. I know both sides of it very well. I've seen some unbelievably talented people have to leave office. And likewise, I've seen some people that shouldn't be in office, they stay forever. And so it works both ways. Okay, yes, ma'am.
First of all, Paul, that was a great question. You're a great American.
He did not say that. He was upset.
First of all, Paul, you have a lovely tie on today. You look great. You look fantastic. Thanks for coming.
No, he did not say that. He said it makes no sense to do the questions after my speech, and I got a standing ovation and now do questions. He was criticizing the Republican Party of Arkansas. They had put the fundraiser on.
Yeah.
It was the whole state
He's
party.
not wrong.
No, he's not wrong at all.
It should be YMCA playing,
right?
Not
right.
Paul getting to ask a question about term limits.
What you have to know is all of the Republican Party of Arkansas bigwigs, they were just there to make money on Trump. None of them took Trump seriously. None of them.
This is 2016.
Yeah,
they didn't
2016.
Think he had a chance.
That's right. They were all laughing at him.
Oh my!
I was looking
goodness.
around the room. They were all like laughing at him, and there was not a lot of them that believed in his message or thought he had a chance, but they knew he was popular, and they just wanted to sell out the convention, and they wanted to make a bunch of money in Hot Springs that night, and they did. People got pictures with him. You got to pay to get your picture with him. I mean, they really cleaned up. So that was the analysis, and I came to the microphone as a big critic of Asa Hutchinson at the time because they had just had this ballot amendment, and I don't think Asa was responsible for that exact amendment, but he certainly supported it. And they basically had a ballot title for the people to vote on that said to establish term limits. That was the beginning of the title. Well, we already had term limits.
Oh.
So this new thing that everybody voted yes on, because they didn't know we already had term limits, actually lengthened the time people could be in office, and it made me really mad. So people were mad at me for asking that question because I was in a room full of Republicans.
Yeah, and
my question was, "Hey, what do you think about term limits?"
Paul pokes the bear,
and you hear my question. I said, and here in Arkansas, we had a ballot that a lot of people thought was really deceptive. We had a ballot initiative, and a lot of people thought it was really deceptive. But what do you think about term limits? And so my question, and I'll be real here, right? If I had to do it over again, I would ask, and knowing what I know now, I would probably ask something different. But I stood up to the microphone to literally, an attempt to humiliate all of the bigwig Republicans that were there that supported that fraud on the people of Arkansas. So my question was kind of a middle finger to them. And, in hindsight, maybe I would do things differently. If I got to, if I knew I was talking to the president of the the future president of the United States, I probably would have had a different question. But that was the point of it. And if you notice, though, President Trump's answer in 2016 at that Hot Springs event versus what he just gave in the Oval Office yesterday is remarkably the same, remarkably consistent.
Yeah.
I can live with it either way. I've seen good people go. I've seen bad, it's the exact same thing.
Yeah.
But it is functionally kind of a moot point because they're never going to vote themselves out of power. They're just not going to do it. So
See the breaking news?
No, what do we got?
Fartwell's home was just raided, and they just pulled him off of an airplane.
Do we have video of this?
I don't have it right here in front of me, but I'm sure we can get
All right, I'm going to find it
really
during the
quickly.
break.
But we'll come back from the break with some with some updates around the breaking news on Eric Swalwell.
All right, that sounds good. That sounds good. All right, we're going to be back here in just a minute, folks. It's the Paul Harrell program, live from America. We're with you to the top of the next hour. Don't go anywhere. Thanks for watching.
For centuries, light has been used to heal. Awaken the body with Red 5.
Why is Red Vibe different? What sets it apart? What sets us apart from the standard red light panels? This is a medical grade device, and what that means is the red light bulbs and the near infrared bulbs have very specific wavelengths. If you think about the wavelength as the medicine, the 635, the 670, the 810, the 850, those were specifically chosen because those are the most powerful effectors of the cells. So those specific wavelengths, when they get into our body, when they affect our tissue, they spike energy production, they help with nerve pain control, they increase stem cell counts. There's very specific mechanisms that those specific wavelengths work at, and that's the medicine. So if you think of, say, medicine as an Advil or a specific steroid or a blood pressure medication, the wavelength is the medication. The other part of that, whenever you take a medication, is dose. Right? So you have the medication. So if you take 1 milligram of Advil, and the average dose of an Advil is 200 milligrams to 800 milligrams, it's not going to work. That doesn't mean the medicine's bad. It just means you didn't take enough. Right? And so even if you have the right wavelengths, first you have to have the right medicine, and then you have to have the right dose. And to have the right dose, you have, in light therapy, you have to have enough energy. So you have to have a powerful bulb. The LED bulbs, or light emitting diodes, have a specific wavelength, and that wavelength is the medicine. And the wavelengths that have been studied and published on that are the most powerful in affecting healing and the changes that we want to see with our bodies and our health are the 635 wavelength, the 670, 810 nanometer wavelength, and 850 nanometer wavelength. Those are all going to affect the mitochondria, the cytochrome C oxidase, and affect those powerful long-term changes and affect that downstream pathways. And that's what you get with Red Vibe devices. The highest efficacy, the best wavelengths, concentrated to help your health.
My name is John, and this is my beautiful wife, Lori, and this is our Star Wars Ewok. His name is Scout, and we have Scout for about 11 years now, and we started noticing about 3 years ago, he started slowing down. He was unable to jump on the bed. He was kind of a little bit grumpier, and when my daughters, Macy and Mariah, would take him on walks, he would walk for about 30 yards, and then he'd lay down, and they'd carry him the rest of the way. So I heard about Pet Club 24/7 and about the products from a gentleman that I really trust and share a friendship with. And he mentioned to me that they have products that are going to help him with his arthritis, help him build his immune system. And I said, okay, no problem. Let's try them out. And I kid you guys not, within about 2 to 3 days, we started noticing a little difference. And then we took Scout on a walk probably about a week after we started using the products, the Mush Puppies, and he would walk the entire way. He would walk at least a mile, and it's just been completely amazing. He's a new dog. He's 11 years old, which is around 80 years in dog years, and he's just happy. He's more energetic. He's not the grumpy old man he used to be, and we're just so thankful. And it was perfect timing because we lost our boxer Yankee about 1.5 years ago, and it was really hard on us. So I'm so thankful for Pet Club 24/7 for the products that they offer. Imagine if you could have your best friend around one more day or one more week or even one more year. I'm so blessed and thankful that we were able to find this company and find these products for Scout. So thank you guys. Give it a shot. We appreciate you. God bless everyone.
this Thursday morning as we prepare for, this is the eve of Friday. This is what I like to call Thursdays. It's Friday's Eve. Broadcasting here on Live from America. And we're from the state of Arkansas, if you guys are just joining us. We really do appreciate being a part of the program. We got this developing news, breaking news. And thanks to Jeremy for making us aware of this. His show, Live from America, is going to start here at the top of the next hour at 10 o'clock Central, 11 o'clock Eastern. FBI agents confronted ex-Congressman Eric Swalwell, who, before all of his sexual proclivities with Fang Fang, or the domestic abuse, was really most famous for passing gas live on MSNBC. It was most famous for that.
My apologies.
Yeah, he's in trouble, though. Let's see here. Eric Daugherty saying ex-rep Eric Swalwell at San Francisco airport, he was confronted by the feds. They seized his cell phone as part of a criminal investigation into his alleged sexual misconduct. Then they searched his house and seized more files. Don't forget that Eric Swalwell was just exposed by being compromised by a Chinese spy. Yeah, he took, now we know, right, cash, campaign cash.
Just breaking moments ago, Justice Department is now investigating sexual assault allegations against former Democratic Congressman Eric Swalwell. According to a source, they are beginning that investigation, and Democrats are facing questions now about what did they know about this, because there was quite a bit of rumor and buzz out there. Did they decide not to mention this in a public forum? Swalwell has denied these accusations, but he admits to, quote, mistakes in judgment. The Wall Street Journal reports that there were, quote, whispers about his behavior with women for years. Quote, Alex Evans, a former Swalwell chief of staff who was working for a super PAC supporting Swalwell's candidacy, said rumors came up in endorsement conversations and, quote, as the last box that needs to be checked before they commit. Evans said that he never saw that behavior that raised the red flags and, quote, he was living a complete double life.
This man was on HPSC, the House Permanent Select Committee on Intelligence. This man was the perfect mark for the communist Chinese, the perfect one. And once they've got the blackmail on you, they have it. This is a blackmail operation, pure and simple. The Democrats don't say anything, whether it's sleeping with a Chinese spy or abusing your girlfriends or whatever.
Or your escorts or whatever.
Yeah, you've got a few things here. You got adultery. If that means anything to the Democrats, you have adultery. You can blackmail somebody with adultery because he was married. You also have the fact that you're cheating on your wife with a Chinese spy. You've taken the campaign cash. Now they've got you for that, and and now we also have the domestic abuse situation. And so you're on your perfect mark to be put on the House Permanent Select Committee on Intelligence that's supposed to oversee the intel oligarchy, much of which is also, I think, compromised with Chinese influence, because I believe that the coronavirus was created by us and then exported to the lab and was leaked intentionally. I think elements of our own government are responsible for 7 million deaths worldwide, if not more. And I think the non-monolithic aspects of the American government that are evil conspired with other factions. It could be the monolithic government of China or even the non-monolithic government of China. Obviously, we know that there are different factions even in communist China. I mean, that's why at one of those party meetings, Xi Jinping had somebody escorted out, remember that? And you're like, ooh, probably never going to see that guy again.
Yeah. Headed straight to the gulag.
Yeah. Yeesh.
Yeah.
That guy, that's not going to work.
Yeah.
Not gonna work here anymore.
Not gonna work here anymore.
Not gonna work here anymore. Not eating a job. Why is that so hard?
You know that there's nothing wrong with Mike Bolton. Oh yeah, well at least your name's not Michael Bolton.
Hey, are you related to that singer guy?
PC load letter. What does that mean?
PC load letter. Yes.
Why does it say paper jam? There is no paper jam.
I could go on. I'm going to stop.
We could do
I'm
that
going to
one
stop
for a
because
bit.
there's so many other quotes that I want to say right now, but I'm going to stop because it's just going to build. We're just going to keep going. We are.
Hey, check out Channel 9. Check out this chick.
It's like,
Hey, Peter, man.
no, man. Hell no, man.
I believe you get your head. You just said something like that, man.
Yeah, I'm doing the drywall down there at the new McDonald's. All right. I'm over. It's over. All right. So, former Democrat congressman, this is from the Gateway Pundit, Eric Swalwell, who is under federal investigation, received a nasty surprise at the airport a few days ago. As the Daily Mail reported, FBI agents confronted Swalwell with a search warrant when he landed at San Francisco Airport on Saturday.
What would you say you do here?
Then they took the former congressman's electronic devices, including his cell phone, reportedly as part of a federal criminal investigation into sexual misconduct. Now, Gateway Pundit is saying sexual misconduct. Fox News just said domestic abuse. So this better be about the Chinese spy. This is the bigger charge. Is the Chinese spy in taking sovereign wealth?
It won't be.
Yeah. You think it'll be Al Capone style? Just get him whatever we can?
Yeah.
Yeah, probably right. This man was on the House Intelligence Committee, though. Needs to be made an example of. But maybe they don't. I don't know. How many other people on the Intel Committee are being blackmailed as we speak?
Yeah.
Honest question. And I think we know the answer. It's not zero.
Sorry. I'm still laughing.
It's okay.
Hey, Bob.
Excuse
Bob?
me.
Peter, take us through a typical work day for you. Well, Bob, first thing I do when I come into my office, I just space out for about an hour. You what? Yeah, I do that 2 or 3 times a day. I'd say in a given week, I only get about 15 minutes of real work.
It is one of the best cult classic movies ever. There's no doubt.
Good.
We're talking about Office Space for those of you who don't know. The New York Post, this is their headline. They confront Swalwell. They seize his phone at the airport. Now, I think this happened maybe a couple of days ago. I saw one report say that it happened a couple of days ago. Maybe it didn't just happen because the Gateway Pundit tweeted former Democrat congressman who was under federal investigation received a nasty surprise at the airport a few days ago. Is their take on it? We're just now finding out about it, but it is relevant.
First time I've seen about this.
I mean, this is a poster child of a guy who is essentially a puppet, and was just basically used as a mouthpiece for, every far left radical agenda that you can think of.
Okay, so this happened on Saturday. His home was raided on Sunday. Thanks, Jeremy.
So he was a darling of the left. He was on MSNBC every time you looked up.
This guy was going to run for president.
Yeah, especially during the heart of the Russia collusion hoax. He was literally everywhere all the time. Right there, kind of tied at the hip with Adam Schiff, and they were lying. He's constantly lying.
Absolutely.
This guy needs to go to jail for a long time. He needs to be. Look, if you're a congressman, you're one of 435 people, 535 people of the. If you take the Senate, the most important people, arguably, in the country for sure, but also in the world, and you're on the Intel Committee. And you're sleeping with a Chinese spy. You're taking campaign donations from sovereign wealth. Mm-hmm. You must be thrown in jail. You must be made an example of for those crimes. And, put everybody else that's in a similar predicament on notice. And maybe they'll, who knows what'll happen. I don't know. But this is part of, definitely part of cleaning up government for sure. Hey, in other news, there's a viral clip going around of a woman visiting India. A white woman gets a year-long visa to India, but then she becomes culturally enriched and immediately wants to leave after only 2 weeks. All right, so check this out right here.
No, it's a great start in this town, to be honest. I'm honestly kind of over India already. I think I'm just going to leave. The men here are just, there's something wrong with them. I just need to get out of here. I'm just done. Sick of the cow poop on the roads. Sick of the trash absolutely everywhere. Look at that garbage. It's disgusting. I got the year-long visa because I wanted to come here and, do a whole tour around India. At this point, I don't even want to stay 2 weeks. No, it's a great start in this town, to be honest.
So she wants to leave now. She got a year-long visa, wanted to explore India, and she can't get over the trash. She can't get over the men that she says have something wrong with them, and she can't get over the cow worship, the bovine feces all over the street. I didn't even realize. I mean, I knew the whole cow thing, and but I didn't even realize the stuff about that they just have cows just walking around, just like loose cows on their street. I had no idea. That's absolutely insane.
So I'm a foodie.
Yeah, this video, by the way, has 5.1 million views and was posted 2 days ago. So,
and I watch food videos all the time, and it never ceases to amaze me. Like, I'll watch all these great food clips and get inspired to cook certain things, and then I'll keep scrolling and I'll see one from one of these little markets in India where these guys are sitting with their legs full and they're just grabbing stuff, and there's dirt and stuff everywhere, and they end up making this big poopapalooza in a big pot, and you just think, I'm gonna be sick. And then you'll see this video of them having thousands of these shrimp in these big tubs, and they're pulling them out and they're injecting them with stuff, and that's the stuff that sometimes arrives in our grocery stores here in the U.S. It's like you got to watch that stuff. It is absolutely disgusting, and I can see exactly, and my heart goes out to her because that's exactly what you get over there.
Yeah, and it's funny because, we mentioned Nick Shirley at the top of the show, and also Tyler Oliveira and what he did down in Texas exposing H-1B, and all the people saying they want to make Texas India, and they're seeing all their friends that they saw in India are now living down the street from them in Texas.
Yeah.
And you have obviously, why they want to leave and come to America. They look around America and say, oh, this is a great country. Look, we don't have all this trash on the road. And yet, not only are they taking our jobs, they're totally transforming civilization here in America, where honestly it looks like there are parts of America that it looks like we have lost a war. Like it looks like our country literally has lost a war in a lot of places, where they have a 90-foot tall monkey statue in Texas. A 90 feet tall. Imagine what a basketball goal is 10 feet. So we're talking 9 basketball goals of a pagan deity, a false god, a demonic god in Texas. It does look like we've lost a war.
The baboon Baal.
Yeah, basically. Might as well call it that.
That was a joke.
I like it. I like the alliteration, though. The alliteration's good. Contrast that
the
footage.
Babylon Bee, the baboon Baal.
Contrast that footage with footage that has been posted by the Liberty Daily. Footage of the opening of the Mall of America in 1992 shows a radically different world. Now, I know it's an apples and oranges comparison. We were just showing you actual India and talking about America. But anyway, regardless, watch this video.
The bargains are coming! The bargains are coming! Hear ye, hear ye! The mother of all shopping crowds was waiting as the doors opened.
Yes, shop till you drop. We are professional shoppers.
By noon, the 2 parking ramps were filled with 13,000 cars, and that sent the mall's war room into action.
We were able to divert to off-site parking properly and efficiently and effectively within 5 minutes.
There was congestion on the roads, but the plan seemed to work. Meanwhile, the traffic jam continued inside the mall. It took almost an hour to get on some of the most popular amusement rides, and the wait continued in the food line.
Well, I placed an order at about 1:27 and got the food about 2:20.
Mall officials say the delays were due in part to a green workforce.
You sure got a variety. You can buy anything you want, I guess.
This place has over 300 stores, some very specialized. Just what this doctor ordered.
And I found a book that I've not been able to find anywhere else, Human Anatomy by an illustrator.
Some people came just to look. This California man says he likes taking pictures of cultural icons.
And this is really one of them. This is a high water mark of where we're going.
Have you been to the Mall of America recently, Eric?
Not recently, but I did when you said we were going to do this segment. I texted my folks because we went as a family on a family trip to the Mall of America for like a little mini vacation when I was growing up.
How long was it?
It was 1994 or 95.
I bet it was pretty amazing.
It was 4 floors of awesomeness.
Awesome. Yeah.
It was literally incredible. They had like little mini concerts going on in one of the little atriums. All the stores, like, and back then, you know, it's not like I'm getting all my clothes from Amazon. Like that was our family trip, like in the summer to get school clothes for the year.
Yep.
And so that's what we did. I mean, we flew up there and we did I think we were there, Paul. I think we were there for 3 days.
Yeah.
And so we would do like a floor or something each day. It was wild. We flew up there with another family and who also had a couple of kids about my age, and you know, we did other things too. It's not like we went up there just to go mall shopping, but that was the experience. That was the trip. The focus of the trip was the Mall of America, and it was incredible.
So this is incredible to me because I went in 2012. I was in Minneapolis, and we took the train or whatever to the Mall of America, and it was a ghost town. Not only was it a ghost town, the first person I saw there was some Muslim in some sort of, Muslim garb or whatever. Now, the rides were still good. They were still operational and that sort of thing. But in terms of it being
rides.
some mecca of shopping or stores, no. The reputation, if I remember correctly, was, hey, be careful when you go because it's
That's sad.
It's dangerous. And so that, it was the heyday in the 90s. It opened in 92. By 2012, when I went, and I'm pretty sure that was 2012 because it was an Americans for Prosperity conference that I was at there, a bloggers conference, and I was just on Arkansas radio. This is back when AFP was.
Think about what an experience it was.
AstroTurfing, the Tea Party movement is what we now know, but back then we didn't really know yet. But it was I went and had a great time on the rides, but it was not. The Mall of America was
Think about what an experience it was back then, too. Like, my little middle-class family from southeast Missouri drove to St. Louis and flew to Minneapolis, St. Paul, Minnesota airport, bought flights to go up there just for this trip to spend a few days at this mall. That's how big of a deal it was back then. And I still remember it to this day. When you said we're going to do that, I immediately texted my folks, says, what year was that when we took that trip with our friends to Mall of America? And it was just awesome. Like you said, the rides and stuff like that. Me and my younger brother were riding roller coasters, and then we're going to go to, Banana Republic and Gap and Structure and buy some clothes. Go to Abercrombie and Fitch.
Back in the day, man, that's what you did. That's
All
what
right,
you did.
sorry, that's my
No.
Abercrombie and Fitch.
I just find
reference.
it, as a cultural data point. Do with it what you will. Now we're going to move on to another cultural data point that is extremely disturbing. Why are so many white liberal women identifying with a child murderer? This is the story of Lindsay Clancy, and unfortunately the story isn't just about her murdering her 3 kids, strangling them to death. It's about the feminist reaction to her being an admitted murderer, a confessed murderer. I didn't know anything about this story really before this morning. I had seen snippets of it.
Strap in, bro.
I saw Matt Walsh post about it, and I was like, okay, what is this? And so I did a deep dive this morning on this story, and so I want to get to the truth of the matter, and so that's why it's time for one of my favorite segments on the Paul Harrell program, Render the Fact. Low and slow, think and understand. That's what we're trying to do here, man, because this is one of the craziest stories that I've seen in quite some time. And it really is a symptom of the general cultural rot that's taking place right now. Over at Zero Hedge, authored by Stephen Watson from Modernity News, why are liberal white women identifying with a child murderer? Now, before we get to an attempt to slowly answer that question, I think we have to understand what this case is actually about. And for that, there's a girl over on X says that it's all politics, or at It's All Politics. Her name is Chloe, and she actually has an excellent breakdown to bring all of us up to speed about what is happening with this Lindsay Clancy case. Watch this.
So who's Lindsay Clancy, and what is going on? Buckle up. In January of 2023, Lindsay Clancy, a Massachusetts mother of 3, strangled her 3 kids to death in her basement with exercise bands. They were 5, 3, and 8 months old. Her trial is this week. She's being charged with first-degree murder, and the question is whether or not she was undergoing a psychotic episode and didn't mean it, or if she carried out premeditated murder. So either she's committed for life or imprisoned for life. Now, how did we get here? So after her third kid was born, she started losing her mind. Postpartum anxiety, depression, paranoia, insomnia, and evolving psychosis. And in 2022, she started telling mom and husband that she was having thoughts of killing her kids and started seeking big-time medical help. Now, at this point, she's on at least 12 different medications, including the antipsychotic Seroquel, which includes hallucinations as a symptom. New Year's Eve 2022, she finally checks into a mental hospital. 5 days later, she checks out, saying she wants to be home for her 5-year-old's birthday. Then a couple weeks later, in January of 2023, she's apparently having a really good day. Like she's not being crazy. She texts her hubby saying, "I didn't cook dinner, let's do takeout." He leaves the house for 25 minutes to pick up said takeout and grab Miralax from CVS for his 5-year-old daughter. Security footage confirms this alibi, by the way. And while he's gone, she lures them to the basement and spends about 4 minutes per kid them. Then her arms and neck, and then jumps from a second-story window, permanently paralyzing herself from the waist down. She's on 6 medications at the time. Husband returns home, sees all the bodies, calls the police. And that audio recording has not been released to the public, but reporters in the room said they heard it, and it was just sickening. The story is tragic and vile, and somehow online weirdos have managed to make it worse. Some quick facts before I explain. People are conflating postpartum depression with postpartum psychosis. 13% of American women get postpartum depression. 1 in 1,000 get the psychosis. It's very rare, it's symptoms-based, so you can't find it on an MRI, but it typically presents very suddenly in the first 2 weeks after childbirth. Symptoms include hallucinations, delusions, severe insomnia, and yesterday her mom testified that Lindsay texted her in October of 2022 saying, "Will you stay with me? Something is wrong. Horrible insomnia, anxiety meds making it worse, really, really scary. I don't want to be alone." Patrick testified that Lindsay called him and said she did it because a man's voice told her if she didn't do it now, she'd lose her chance. It's looking like she went crazy. The prosecution, the people prosecuting her for murder, they have a very, very difficult job. They have to prove beyond a reasonable doubt that she was not crazy, just cold-blooded. But either way, she's still going away for life because her children are forever gone. That's the tragedy. But instead of focusing on that, online weirdos are blaming the man. Here's what I mean. Blue-haired people, for instance, are throwing themselves out of windows to prove that she fell out of the window weird. She must have been shoved. It was the husband. Yeah, Patrick, he was not at CVS, according to these ladies. He hired a body double, drugged her, the children, shoved her body out the house, and then staged the rest of it. And the evidence of all this, it doesn't exist, but he did remarry another brunette after his former wife unalived all of their children. So, guilty. There's also women saying this.
Many of us see ourselves in Lindsay. Many of us know that we could have been only one step away from doing some of those horrific things.
What? Like, get help. She had a psychotic break and committed multiple mortal sins. That's not the same as you feeling down after having a kid. And then there's women out there saying that if men aren't talking about this case, it's because they're abusive.
If you're a man saying, like, she should just go to prison, she did it, Patrick's innocent, leave him alone, he was a great dad, I'm just going to assume that you are abusive.
Yeah. There is not a single piece of evidence that he was abusive. Women, you're making us all look bad. The reality is she was on an insane cocktail of psychotropic drugs at the time of the murders. It's really sad. And it's terrible to see that she was severely struggling with mental illness. Mental illness is real, and it is very, very scary. But also, girls, stop being weird and totally sympathizing with the child killer and blaming the husband. Lindsay confessed, the defense agrees, and she'll likely go to the ward for the rest of her life. I swear, these people do not care about the children at all. They just want to make the guy look bad because they hate men. But hey, I mean, at least Candace Owens has a new thing to warp and make millions off of.
So that is the long and the short of it. I mean, I found that video to kind of, I mean, I look, I know feminism is a mental, it's rotting our society. It's, you know, the rot began with abortion, right? I mean, if you have the right, if we can't tell women, no, you can't murder your child in 1973, it's very difficult to tell them, no, you can't do all these other things, right? I mean, you know, because I can't murder my child, but women can in the womb. So it set feminism on this trajectory to essentially destroy. They're obviously in charge, right? They're a protected class that can murder their children. And anyway, so your thoughts on that? I would love to know your thoughts on that, Eric, especially the cocktail, because that is true. This woman, we may need to revisit the whole medical field of psychology and prescribing. I don't know how many drugs she was on, but
so some things to keep in mind: psychiatry and psychology. Psychiatry can prescribe medications. She was prescribed these medications by psychiatrists.
Psychiatry,
and those in that community, they go to a lot more school than those that operate in more of the psychology aspect of things. I've worked with a lot of psychiatrists in my career, throughout my career, and a lot of them openly admit, like, I have a tough time with a lot of patients dealing with their care because I become more of a chemist. I need to add a little dose of this. I need to up their dose of that. I need to lower their dose of this, lower their dose of that. Add this onto the cocktail, and hopefully I can get their neurotransmitters and their mental health appropriate. But when I look at this list of medications that she was on, it blows my stinking mind. And because I know what this list of medications and this cocktail can do to a person.
It's like 30, right? 30 something?
Yeah, listen to these names. So a combination of Zoloft, Prozac, Remeron, Diceril, amitriptyline, Ativan, Klonopin, Valium, Buciprone, Hydroxyzine, Seroquel, Lamictal, Ambien. These are all high-powered medications, and they don't interact well with each other in a lot of cases. This is an insane cocktail of benzodiazepines, mood stabilizers, sedatives, sleep aids, antidepressants. Some of the antidepressants are the same exact thing. So they're SSRIs, selective serotonin reuptake inhibitors. They're supposed to do the same exact thing. And then they're adding tricyclic antidepressants on top of that and other medications that should not be taken with each other. They all have side effects and a terrible profile for a lot of things. And so especially for this lady, the benefits of this cocktail does not outweigh the risks. It is bad malpractice what this lady was on, and I would challenge any of her healthcare providers to try to come up with a reasonable explanation why they did not look through this cocktail more carefully and say, I think we may be doing this lady a little bit more harm than good. This is disgusting, what I'm seeing here as far as this massive cocktail of medications for her. And bless her heart. Like, I know my sympathy goes out to her and what she was dealing with, and her mother showing her some of the text messages from her reaching out to try to say, I'm not right. Mm-hmm. I do not feel right. I need somebody to be with me. I don't need to be by myself. Like, there's part of this where my heart and my sympathy really does go out to this woman and what she was dealing with, and it's incredibly frustrating to see this list of medications and the profiles of these medicines and what they would do to a person when taken in combination the way that they were. And that's that's half the list. So
wait a second, that's only half the list? There were more?
Yeah, there's more. I just went through the ones where the specific name for them. I mean, there are others on this list that I didn't even mention.
But you mentioned SSRIs, and so I would be remiss if I didn't say, like, how many mass shooters that are men that do we later find out are on SSRIs? This is not the first time where something like this happens, and you turn violent because literally the drugs themselves apparently make you violent and crazy and do things that maybe you otherwise wouldn't. Some might even say, some of these drugs, some people claim thin the veil, the spiritual veil, make you more susceptible to spiritual attacks.
This really is just like the perfect storm of a bad situation and things coming together. Her not getting the appropriate level of help from the people she needed to. Her getting the wrong help from the physicians that are prescribing her this massive cocktail of medications. No one that can intervene, and poor, helpless, innocent children that are no longer with us today because of the actions of this perfect storm of bad mental health treatment. It's really, really sad.
Well,
and then the feminist movement jumping on board to try to affirm this and try to rationalize it away. Like, don't do that. Well, like, don't go that way. That's just way too far.
Well, that's what they're doing. The phrase "same Lindsay" is now trending on TikTok. Apparently, a lot of women today have fantasies about killing their own children, and that's why they're identifying with Lindsay Clancy so much. Here is just one of those videos.
Trying to take care of the kids. I'm drowning every day. I feel guilty that I'm spending my family's money and not making any. I feel like I spend way too much. She wrote that, right? Correct. I'm terrified of Callan getting sick. He's a sick baby. A sick baby is miserable. He's sick now with a double ear infection. Clearly has a bellyache. It's miserable. I feel like the other kids are going to get him sick all winter long. She wrote that, right? Correct. I always feel strongly against sleep training. Dude. I feel like it's abusive to let the baby cry and not respond. But I made the decision.
While they're making videos with the soundtrack of the court testimony, of the text messages, while they take care of their own kids. That is sick, man. We have a lot of really sick women out there to be doing something like this. Absolutely disgusting. Large online female community has launched a coordinated TikTok movement in support of Lindsay Clancy, the Massachusetts mother charged with strangling her 3 children. Participants are declaring their allegiance from whatever state they're in using Labor, already an anthem, and anti-patriarchy circles as their soundtrack. Many portray Clancy not as a woman whose defense cites severe postpartum psychosis, but as an almost certain victim of her husband, whom they insist must be the real perpetrator. It just goes on and on. And you saw the video right there. I mean, it's absolutely insane. This lady, who's this lady? Hang on. Actress Lisa Rinna says she and her female therapist agreed that Patrick Clancy killed his children, not Lindsay Clancy, because women don't strangle. Quote, my therapist looks at me and goes, he did it. I was like, wow, yeah. Again, why are so many white liberal women identifying with a child murderer? So I'm sorry, I've got to ask, are all these women on drugs as well? How many of these women are on some sort of antipsychotic medication? It's absolutely insane, man. And that brings me to this Matt Walsh tweet, because William Wolf, who's the head of the Center for Baptist Leadership, doing a lot of great work trying to save the Southern Baptist Convention from its leftist drift, which we need people like William Wolf. But he says, Matt Walsh just nailed Big Eva to the wall. Not a single evangelical commentator who had so very much to say about Nick Fuentes over the last year has had the courage to touch the Lindsay Clancy train wreck. He said, quote, please take note of all the conservative influencers and commentators who are very eager to issue lectures to young right-wing men and scold them for their spicy jokes and for their edgy podcasts they listen to. And yet right now, they're very hesitant to deliver any rebuke to the legions of radicalized women openly celebrating a mass murderer of children. I think there's some truth to that, but do you know what's at the heart of that is? We talked about blasphemy laws earlier. You know, one of the blasphemy laws of the left, you are not allowed to tell women no, generally speaking, in our society. And because of that, it leads to, what does it lead to? It leads to what we're seeing now. It leads to them taking a terrible situation and somehow inventing a conspiracy when she's confessed to doing it. Like that lady said, the guy has the alibi. He went out to CVS. He's on camera at CVS, but they think that he somehow did it himself and then threw his wife out the window after slitting her wrists.
Yeah.
I don't even know. I don't even really know what to say about that. But that's the truth of the situation. Is we are a very sick society, generally speaking, and we got a lot of work to do. A lot of prayer to do, and a lot of but again, at the same time, politically speaking, like these ideas, this mentality, they've got to go. They've got to be consigned to the dustbin of history if we're going to save the country. That's where I'm at with it. Anyway, my goodness, I cannot believe that though. 30-something drugs. She had a massive cocktail of drugs in her system. So I think she probably will be found insane, and she'll go to a mental institution for the rest of her life.
Yeah. Yeah, sadly, I think you're spot on in that.
And you know,
and I'm not saying she's not insane. And what this cocktail shot and catapulted into, you know, a rocket booster of insanity. That absolutely seems to have happened here. And she was reaching out and trying to communicate and wasn't really getting anywhere. But this is the same problem you find all the time with tragic situations, is that people then come forward after the fact and are like, yeah, we kind of knew he was like that, or we kind of wondered when, you know, not just he kept to himself or you know, had some weird conversations at the dinner table, but like, you know, these guns were missing from the gun safe and whatever else. It's just this stuff happens, and unfortunately, too little, too late.
Yeah, that's exactly right, man.
But I seriously believe that the medical profession in this situation needs to be held accountable for this.
That's what I would. Yes.
And that doctors that were prescribing these medications like this in this way at this load need to be held accountable for that.
Yeah.
And need to have their licenses pulled, or at least, you know, be brought to justice to say, in the same way that Michael Jackson's doctor that kept loading him up with all of his you people have to be held accountable, or it's just going to be the cycle is just going to continue.
Now it's time for our last segment of this Thursday, this great Friday Eve, and we call this segment Degree in Dumb. So for this segment, Degree in Dumb, we're highlighting the Department of Transportation Secretary Sean Duffy, who is now going viral in a video that's received 2.7 million views in just over a day, about why he won't send his daughter, that he's raised right, to the liberal woke sex religion school known as Harvard. Keep in mind, Harvard used to be a school that taught theology. It was originally a seminary, and it no longer is that, unless you're going to say they study the theology of demons, the doctrine of demons. Take a listen to this really good clip.
Can't say no.
To Harvard?
Yeah.
Well, me and Mom can say no.
Catholicism, to us, is everything. It's the basis of our marriage. It's the basis of our family. So I'm nervous about the idea of Paloma going to Harvard. We spend a lot of time nurturing and providing formation for our kids, giving them an environment where they are steeped in faith and values. And so the idea of dropping her off at a place that would undermine that or try to undo all those things makes me worried.
And again, I don't want them to get one viewpoint. I want them to get a lot of different viewpoints. But I don't want them fed only one viewpoint that's contrary to the way my kids were raised. Listen, my problem is we have thought about how we raised you and how hard we've worked to, I think, raise what is a remarkable young girl. If I send you there, I think what happens is they have professionalized figuring out how they can take good young girls like you and, I think, corrupt their minds. You don't have to believe what I believe. You don't have to have the political viewpoints that I have, but I do think it's important that you make those choices for yourself and you have a fair representation of what they are. And I don't think the Harvards of the world give you that kind of well-rounded picture.
He's exactly right.
Spot on.
Spot on. Listen to this. That Harvard, what do I call this? The propagandists at Harvard have figured out how to professionalize. They've professionalized figuring out how they can take good young girls and corrupt their minds. And folks, that is not just true of Harvard. That is true of so many of these universities that are not preparing people for careers. They're not preparing people for jobs. They're preparing people to be communists. And they're preparing people for, some sort of revolution. And they're turning them against their parents. And this is true in a lot of public schools as well. Not all public schools. There's still great public schools out there. Depends on where you're at. But it's certainly true of universities where parents this has tragic stories where they raise kids up to 18, they're good to go, and then they they buy into this idea that you have to go to college, and they're literally handing their kids over to people that hate their parents, the enemy. I would call them the enemy easily, spiritually speaking, 100%. And for more on this, just what the scam it is in general, not only do you have this component of warping your mind, but you also have a really great point. There's a great website out there called degreefree.com. And if your kids are still 8 to 10 years away from college, you need to go to this website. You need to start using these resources because your kids don't necessarily have to go to college. And there's this Degree Free over on TikTok is a great follow because we get comments, we get rants like this. Listen to this.
They're stealing all of this time, they're stealing all of this money, and they're selling false expectations, and they're selling lackluster employment preparation, and they're not doing anything well. And then they've managed to brainwash an entire group of people so that when they go out to the market and then apply for the exact jobs that they should have applied for at 18, they say that the employers are the ones exploiting, when the employers are like, this was the market value wage before you bought a degree and then another degree. How is that my problem to then pay you what you think your labor is worth when you have no skills? And if anything, you have negative skills because the college ruined your expectations and taught you the opposite of what is actually true in the market because the people teaching in colleges don't know what's going on. They're stealing all of this.
That is a really good point. So many of the people in academia don't actually know what's going on. I think because of AI, in 10 years, a lot of universities are not going to exist in the same capacity that they do now. I think President Trump could really speed that process up. I think in a lot of ways it's a good thing. There needs to be massive reforms. President Trump could speed this process up by not allowing these Chinese immigrants, to come over here, to get educated. Because he even said, well, if I did that, it would hurt a lot of the Ivy Leagues. Well, maybe that international tuition needs to be hurt because we're totally disconnected from, services rendered and what you're actually paying for. I think she makes an excellent point here that this is not going. Now there are some reforms, and I believe Arkansas has made a stab at this. I don't know if they passed it into law, but I think they're working on this. And I think this is a good idea. Universities in Arkansas or any state should not be able to charge more money than what the average job is for that degree in the marketplace. So now think about that.
Yeah.
Think of how good that would be. Like say, okay, the average, if you're going into marketing, okay, the average marketing job, which by the way, with AI, that's going to make it really difficult. The average job for a marketing salary, I don't know, let's just say it's $50,000 coming out of college. That would mean that university cannot charge you more than $50,000 for that degree, and that kind of limitation, I think, would be really healthy.
Every parent needs to listen to Mike Jobs do an interview. Any interview he's done over the past 10 to 15
You mean Mike Rowe? You said
Mike Rowe.
Yeah.
Sorry,
yeah.
Dirty
You know
Jobs. Mike Rowe.
Maybe he should just be called
Mike Jobs.
Old Mikey Jobs over here. He'll get you a job. You just got to listen to him.
I mean, all the progress that he's made toward helping trade schools and toward exposing the light on the college situation. Yeah, it's absolutely
amazing.
Absolutely need to be a part of the conversation.
All right, that's all the time that we have for this edition of the Paul Harrell program, this Thursday edition. I hope you had a great morning with us. I had a great time. Thank you, LFA audience. Thank you, chat. We will see you guys tomorrow morning. We'll be here with bells on. And God bless everybody out there watching. I want to remind everybody that the Paul Harrell program is powered by the Healing Veterans Project. Scan the QR code, make your donation to help veterans get red light therapy that the VA will not cover. And we will see you guys tomorrow.
See you tomorrow.
The Paul Harrell program.